brief because I think the most important thing is really to hear from the most important thing is to really hear from the folks that are here. So I'll be relatively brief. First of all, I want to welcome everyone in this room. We sometimes work in obscurity here. We wish more people were involved in the important work of government. So we welcome everyone here to participate in this. Second, I think that there are a number of misconceptions about what we're doing here, and I'd like to just briefly correct some of those impressions that may be wrong. But before I do, I'd just like to say just a few words about why we're here. We're here because we as elected officials are charged by state law with protecting the health and safety of our residents. And after the Newtown shooting, we felt it was absolutely incumbent on us to ask the question, are we doing everything we can? And so we passed a resolution shortly after the shooting, which I'll read a part of. Quote, the town of Weston is committed to ensuring the security of its residents and children, preventing violence in any form, and eradicating gun violence in our society. We hereby resolve to work with the Weston Board of Education and the Weston Police Department to take all appropriate steps to promote these important goals. That's not just gun bans. What we're talking about there is looking at the whole problem. We're talking about looking at mental health. We're talking about looking at school security. We're talking about the broad range of issues that causes violence in our society. Why are we talking about that in Weston? Some people have asked, do you have a gun problem in Weston? Is that what you guys are up to? We don't have a gun problem in Weston. We have a gun problem in our society, and we don't have a gun problem particularly in Weston, but we also aren't going to sit here and wait until there's a problem to think about ways that we can avoid them. And domestic violence is actually the most frequent crime in our area and in this town. And we have to think about the question of how weapons can be used in domestic violence situations and try to prevent accidents from happening. At the same time, I just want to make it absolutely clear that we respect the Second Amendment, that our country was founded on the premise that everyone is entitled to have firearms, and they're entitled to have it in order to be a protection against the overarching government. That's what our country is based on. We respect that. I'm a lawyer. I absolutely respect the Constitution. I spend my days protecting it and defending it. And the Second Amendment will not be violated here. More importantly, we have many, many responsible, lawful gun owners in our town who we respect and love. And it's very important to us to respect their dignity, not just their rights. And nothing we do is going to be done without considering all of those things. Just a little background on what we're doing, just so that those who haven't been involved in the dialogue before know. As David said, we have a 1990 ordinance in this town which has banned the use of assault weapons and machine guns in the town of Weston. That's 22 years old. Nobody's ever questioned that. Second, it requires a permit for anyone in town to be issued by the chief of police for anyone in town who wants to use guns for residential target practice. That's been on the books for 22 years. The question we asked ourselves is do we need to update that ordinance in any way? And we have talked about three things. We've never talked about banning weapons. We've never talked about eliminating weapons. We've talked about three things. First, we've talked about whether we should add high-capacity magazine clips to high-capacity ammunition clips to the to the ban on use in town. Since that discussion started, as David said, there have been state and federal initiatives that address that issue, and I have issued a report to this board, which has not been accepted, but it's my recommendation that given the broader initiatives that are addressing those issues, that we defer any consideration of that. Let's let the state and federal government deal with that and not start in Weston, because it's more effective to look at these issues on a broader basis. Second, we talked about registering firearms in town. I have concluded, and I believe my colleagues have concluded, that that is inappropriate and inadvisable, given the fact that records of that kind are public. That would potentially create a safety hazard, and so we are not recommending that. And third, most importantly for the town of Weston, we're talking about safe storage requirements. And all of my discussions with gun owners in town tell me that we're already practicing safe storage in the town of Weston. But we still need to have a discussion about whether our ordinances adequately communicate the type of safe storage that we hope every gun owner will use to avoid domestic violence and accidents in the home. So those are the three issues, and we'd love to hear your input on them. Very important to us that anyone who has input, please come forward and talk.
Thank you, David and Dennis. We're going to start the question and answer period. First, I'd like to invite the Weston Gun Club up to make a statement. I want to thank them for being a model of responsible gun ownership and usage in the town of Weston. 80 years, not one accident. Not one accident. I've been very impressed by talking to these gentlemen, and I think that I'm just particularly glad that they came tonight.
As a club, we are proud to be members of this community for 80 years. We are among those who are outraged and saddened by the recent gun violence, particularly the horrific events in our neighboring community of Newtown. We sympathize with the efforts you and the Board of Selectmen, Chief Tracey and the Police Department have undertaken to address the issues of gun violence and to promote gun safety. As sportsmen and women, gun safety is our first priority. We advocate and mandate the safe handling of our sporting shotguns. The overriding principle is safe storage, using a gun safe, trigger lock, or a similar arrangement to keep them out of the hands of unauthorized and inappropriate users. We are frankly appalled at the complete breakdown of basic safety standards leading up to the tragic events in Newtown. Thank you all again for your leadership, cooperative approach, and for giving us the opportunity to address them.